I got a notification that Deepika Padukone tagged you in a post, and I was like, that can't be right. And then suddenly my phone just like blew up. It was just obviously all of her followers texting saying like, where can we order? And I was like, wait, is this real? So I opened and then I saw her post, and she was so sweet. Like, she really didn't have to do that at all. This company in San Francisco, they buy recipes from chefs, bakers, anywhere from all over the world. Everything is obviously measured right down to the milligram, like the amount of salt you put in and everything. And it's all automated. It's all done by this machine. But I don't know how I feel about that just yet. It's like taking out that human element. It's your ingredients. It can go right down to the grain size of your sugar, the amount of sugar you're putting, the different kinds of sugars that you're using. The flour that you use has to be a certain kind. But the softness and the crispiness, I think the biggest challenge is the oven time.
Love and Crumble not only serves one of the best cookies in Bengaluru, but baker Anutha Shetty also makes it a sensory experience at her artisanal bakery. On the Expressions podcast, hear Anutha's story of her love for baking. Hi Anutha, thank you for coming to Expressions.
Thank you so much for having me.
So tell me, what's your idea of a perfect cookie?
Well, obviously first it starts with taste. It has to taste great. But for me, it's also, I feel like it has to be a sensory experience, which is why I give so much importance to texture and consistency. I feel like, a soft cookie can almost take you back in time. It can be nostalgic. Maybe remind you of something your mom used to make as a child. Or for so many people, they'll text me after they've tried the cookies, like, oh my God, I felt like I was in school again, like back from school at home, and my mom's like made these brownies, and I don't know, it just took me back. So thank you so much for that experience. So I feel like all of that together would, for me, make a perfect cookie.
Yeah. We're going to talk about a little bit more about the consistency a little later.
Okay.
But any memories of you growing up and having cookies with, or making cookies with your mom, grandmom in the kitchen?
Never cookies, but a lot of brownies. I say I helped them, but really it was just like licking the batter from the bowl and the whisk. But my mom's a great cook and a baker. And as is my grandmom. I feel like it runs in the family. Me, not so much on the cooking side. I do enjoy it every now and then when it's not expected of me. But otherwise, I feel like cookies are just the only skill I have, really.
I'm sure you have more because you've done cosmetic science and then it's moved to, handcrafted cookies at Love and Crumble. So take us through the journey. How did that happen?
So after school, I still didn't know what I wanted to do. So my dad sat me down and he was like, okay, let's look at what your interests are. He was like, two of the industries that will always be relevant no matter what happens, even with, at that time there was no AI, but he was like, just looking at the future, food and beauty is like, people are always going to want to look good. People are always going to need food. So he was suggesting either food technology or cosmetic science, both which were kind of new at the time as degrees. And at the time, I was obviously interested in makeup and skincare and all of that. I was like, yeah, sure, why not? It's a science degree, but I love science, so why don't I try that? And that's how cosmetic science happened. I studied in the London College of Fashion. I did the course, but for some reason, I guess maybe I was a little too happy-go-lucky at the time. I didn't focus enough. And then by the time I came back, I was like, oh, okay, now I actually need to put this degree to use. But at the time, I couldn't figure out how. I knew what I wanted to do. I think they probably just had like Lakme and Himalaya and those kinds of brands at the time. It wasn't there was no Nykaa and stuff at that time. And I really wanted to start my own skincare brand, but I just didn't know how. It just seemed like such a larger-than-life goal to have. And somewhere along the line, just completely by fluke, I had a craving for this cookie that I used to have, Ben's Cookies in London. And obviously, you don't get it over here. So I said, let me just try. How hard can it be? It was hard. It took me a good amount of time. I tried a bunch of recipes and then eventually, with some tweaks, realized that I was happy with what came out of it. And that's how it started.
Nice. And when you say that you were in London, did you experiment or work on any, with any perfume brand or shampoo or, any sort of cosmetic?
No, we had lecturers come in from all of these brands who'd like teach us how to do things. And like the perfumery was really fun as well. But otherwise, not really. I didn't really work with any brands
Yeah.
at the time, which is why now I'm like thinking back, why didn't I just, instead of coming back every holiday, I should have stayed there and like interned maybe and
Yeah.
done that sort of
Yeah.
thing. So I always tell people now when they go to study abroad that make use of your holidays for work experience because it gets really hard to get a job after that if you don't have that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And how has this cosmetic science degree or education helped you in getting your flawless skin?
Oh God, I know. I mean, I think it's a combination. I also had to drink a lot of water as a child because I had a kidney stone thing.
Okay.
And it was such a rare type of kidney stone. It required me to drink 7 to 9 liters a day. So I think having to do that for years and years and years,
Yeah.
one of the silver lining. But also genetics, I guess my parents have really good skin, so
Okay.
maybe
And what was your, if I may ask, what was your learning from you said perfumery was a lot of fun when you did that. So what was your...
just like playing around with different notes and being able to tell a top note aside from the base note, and
Okay.
a lot goes into it. And just the lasting power, the skin sense, especially how something can smell completely different on your skin than on mine.
Yeah.
Things. I feel like I'm still going to do it. I definitely want someday, maybe once I've kind of set Love and Crumble and it's reached that goal that I wanted to reach, I would love to go into skincare. I think it's just, there's so much you can do right now. And I feel like the customer knows what they're getting as well. They're so aware of what's out there and the ingredients you're using. So it's fun to kind of really give them something that they want but don't know how to get.
Yeah.
So hopefully one day.
Yeah. What's the story behind Love and Crumble, and what sparked it actually, and any reason you chose this name?
So the story, like I said, it just literally gluttony has led to this business. I was so desperate for that cookie that I went out of my way to figure it out. And when it did, and I liked it, I had my, obviously I had my parents and my friends try it out. They loved it as well. And it was just like a word of mouth thing. I didn't even know what to charge people because they would call. My mom had a dinner party one night, and she said, "Why don't you make these cookies for my guests to take home?" I said, "Sure, why not?" I did it. The next day, they all called back, and they were like, "How do we order these?" And my mom's like, "Okay, make this for this auntie and that auntie." I'm like, "Mom, I don't even know how to charge for this. I wouldn't even know what to do." But just let them take it, and we'll figure it out later. So it wasn't planned at all.
Yeah.
But then seeing the joy that it brought to people, I was like, you know what? I can't believe I created that. Like, that's really cool to kind of evoke those, feelings in someone that they want to get it again.
Yeah.
And the name, I guess, love was a given. I definitely wanted that word in there because that's what I felt, every time I bake a batch and someone enjoys it as well. I get so many messages from people even now, like DMs on Instagram. They'll be like, "We can feel the love you put into it. Like, you don't scrounge on anything." So that, and Crumble, just because it's like, you have a bite of it and you just feel like, oh, that's what I want for people, like you're crumbling.
Love at first bite is your tagline at Love and Crumble. When did you fall in love with these cookies? Just when you were,
For the first time?
Yeah.
It was definitely in uni. There was, so Marks and Spencer's has their food section.
Yeah.
And they have this white chocolate macadamia cookie. Oh my God. I just randomly picked it up one day when I was shopping or something. And I took a bite of it and I was like, wow, what is this thing? Because until then, I didn't know what a cookie, I mean, I knew what a cookie was, but in my mind, it was always those ready ones you get at the store, like your hide and seek or those kinds of things. At the most, maybe a Subway cookie. But this was something else. The texture, for the first time, there was something I could tell. There was a difference in consistency. And I don't know, the overall feeling of it kind of made me fall in love with cookies. That was the end of it. I think my freshman 15 were all thanks to those cookies.
What can you tell us about the first batch of cookies that you baked? Was it for someone special?
Yes, for me. No, so I did obviously do it first for myself. But then when it went so well, I had to have my parents try it as well. So I made it for them. And then that whole dinner party thing happened where everyone tried it and loved it. And
which one did you make at that point?
the Nutella sea salt.
Okay.
That one and the basic dark chocolate chip. I feel like that's, a classic as always.
Yeah. What's with the sea salt actually? I mean, these days it's a very common...
I think it just balances out its sweetness a lot of the time. And it kind of can add another level of flavor or something to it. But surprisingly, a lot of kids like it as well, I've
Yeah,
noticed, like
yeah.
younger kids, which I wouldn't
Yeah.
have expected. You'd think they'd like the sweeter
Yeah.
ones, but I feel like the older people tend to go for the sweeter ones, and the younger kids these days are like, oh, we want sea salt in our cookies.
And where do you source it from?
The
India?
yeah, from India.
Okay.
My sea salt's from here.
Yeah. It takes a tough cookie to build a successful business from scratch. Anyone who helped you with it, and how did you get your initial orders?
Obviously, word of mouth at
Yeah.
first. It was just friends telling their friends and their family and ordering for their friends and family. And that's how it kind of, I mean, it's incredible how word of mouth can really, you know, I
Yeah.
feel like if you have a good product or a service that resonates with people,
Yeah.
they'll do the marketing for you.
Yeah.
So it started off that way. And then at one point, a friend of mine was starting a food delivery app called Entree. I'm not sure if you remember. It was around for a while. What they were trying to do was basically take on all of the slightly more premium restaurants in town in Bangalore on the app, and you could also like say order a starter from here, a main course from here, dessert from here, and they would deliver everything to you at once. So when he was starting, he said, would you be, you know, I want you on there, we love your cookies. And at that point I was like, wait, this is me actually going and, you know, giving my cookies out to people who've never met me. Like they don't even have to tell me that they like my cookies, but I was like, you know what, I need a challenge, let me do it. So that's how it that was my first real experience with being out there for just anyone to place an order on their phone. And so that helped me a lot to get the word out there.
So was even the time spent at the Blackstone group in UK and Coffee Board of India help in any way to grow your business?
So I never actually thought about it.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that some of the soft skills that I need right now, even, you know, dealing with things that go wrong or emergency. So often because I, you know, depend on a Swiggy or a Dunzo porter to deliver my cookies, a lot of the time there's delays or there's some sort of manhandling. So by the time, you know, your customers ordered the cookie, they just want it as soon as possible and they want it delivered in the best possible way. But for some reason that doesn't always happen, and then they will get disappointed, of course, right? And sometimes they get angry and this and that, but you kind of, I think I've learned, maybe because of my experience there, because I was working at their student development housing at the time. There were about 1,000 students there. It's where I was staying as well. And you know, when you're dealing with such a diverse group of people from all over the world who are far from their families, things are bound to go wrong. They all react in different ways. But you learn how to communicate effectively and kind of be composed while you do it. So I feel like maybe that kind of helped me, since that was my first real experience with being on the service side of things.
Yeah.
So.
And also, I mean, I noticed that your delivery app is very updated and very different from the other, you know, home bakers and homemakers. So how come I know that, you know, you can get your cookies delivered at a particular day and at a particular time also.
Yeah.
So what?
But I mean, that's just how menus works. I think that's thanks to them. I was on there before Swiggy.
Okay.
Just because prior to menus, I was doing everything myself. I was taking the orders myself. And the thing is, when you take your orders yourself, like the person ordering has so many questions.
Yeah.
So it was a good like 15, 20 minute, you know, conversation with each person. And that took up a lot of my time, even just can you please send me your location, your exact address, then putting it on Dunzo. So air menus came at a really good time because they did all of that for me. You put your address in, it's all done on the back end. I just have to, once the cookies are ready, hit a button that says book rider and it's done. So, and as for the timings and things like that, I feel like a lot of people want their cookies at a particular time. They'd be like, I'm coming home at this time, I'd like it delivered here. If I'm taking a flight at 2 p.m., I need it to be delivered. And they don't always remember last minute. So it's nice to kind of have that thing where, okay, if I order it now for that particular time slot, it'll be here at that time. And it'll be fresh because it's made, you know, on order, like fresh on order. So I think that was important for me.
And even the presentation, I mean, I think even the boxes that you've made, it's like a pizza delivery box. So would you like to talk anything? How did you come up with that idea?
I was always very particular about branding and packaging. I feel like it's just such a nice experience, you know. Also, the cookies are expensive. They're not cheap. It's a premium product. So I feel like when someone orders that, they expect a certain level of, you know, packaging, and so you don't want to just like get something So that was something I was very particular about. I wanted it to be a fun experience,
Yeah.
like have a little fun note written on the
Yeah,
bag and
yeah.
on the box as well, and make it cool. And I feel like with food, otherwise it's so boring. There's only so much you can do. But I don't think so. I feel like you can make it fun and
Yeah.
a little bit cheeky.
Yeah.
And my best friend actually helped me with putting it together,
Okay.
because she knew exactly what I wanted to do, and she kind of
Yeah.
helped me with the colors and everything. My website as well. So
Okay. Do you have any special packaging for occasions? Like
I do. I have a gift packaging that I use. Another friend of mine helped with those ones. Just Diwali and things like that. When you want a little more luxurious kind
feeling,
of
yeah.
festive
Yeah.
feel with a nice little bow. So I do have that as well for Christmas and if sometimes when people order bulk orders, or they'll order like a baby shower gift or announcement or something like
Yeah.
that, we can also customize, like put them in touch with our packaging person, and they'll kind of get the design that they want, and we can do that for them as well.
Nice. So, what's your business model like, and how do you keep track of it?
So obviously, because of the way it started, there was no real business model. It came out of nowhere. But as it stands today, I would probably say that it centers around delivering fresh, hot, high quality cookies straight from my oven to your door. And the whole process of it's to create a memorable experience for the customer in the end. It's not just about giving a good cookie. It's something that you should enjoy so much that you'll think about it the next time and be like, you know what, I want to feel like that again. So I think that's been the center of it for me. I feel like even today, every time I talk about it with my husband, like at the end of the day, we talk about a good work day. 90% of the time, it's not about numbers, which he's hoping for. He's like, okay, I get it. But for me, it's like, you know what this person sent to me today? They were like, I'm in Bangalore for 24 hours. My husband has told me not to come back without a box of your cookies. Or so-and-so's here for like so long, and they want to take back a bunch for their team people over there. And that's what I love. I love reading those messages. It just makes it all worth it, I think.
Yeah. So how does your husband support you in your business? How would you?
With the business side of things, he always brings me back down to earth. Where he's like, okay, this is also a business. You can't just be off on your thing saying I'm feeding people.
Yeah.
But he's very focused. He's a real estate lawyer, so his work is a lot more high pressure than mine is. But it's nice to kind of have him bounce ideas off of, and he does give me that encouragement, because on my own I tend to be a little more reserved and private and shy, and even with my social media I feel like I could do so much more, and people are always saying, why don't you do this and why don't you do that? And I'm like, no, I don't feel comfortable with selling, and it's fine, like everyone likes it already. But he's kind of helping me get over that, and hopefully this is the year that I'll kind of take it to the next step and like expand and get the word out there.
Yeah.
Put myself out there a little bit.
So did social media help you grow also?
Yes,
with your business?
completely. I mean, I don't know.
How?
Instagram was crazy. I feel like just the way that someone can take a picture of your product and post it without even asking for it. They have automatically gone out to hundreds, thousands of people. And then someone who finds that picture interesting automatically comes to your page and they're like, okay, let me try this next. So it's literally just been word of mouth and social media that has helped me. Honestly, like without that, I don't know. I really don't know where I'd have been.
Lovely. What's the concept of artisanal bakery, according to you?
I think a bakery that uses maybe traditional techniques, but makes things in small batches, uses top-tier quality ingredients. And I think they kind of favor craftsmanship over automation. And it's more, obviously, quality over quantity. Yeah, and it's passion-driven, I would say, more than... I mean, obviously, profit matters, but I would say it's highly passion-driven. And generally, it's an organic growth pattern, you see. Like, even in their business model, I was telling you, it's just grown organically. It's like turned into this, what it is today, purely because of that.
Yeah.
So I think...
We're going to talk about your future plans in a bit, because I'm very, very curious to know what's in for this year. You're a chief cook and bottle washer at your bakery. Tell us about the challenges you face and the lessons you've learned from running your venture.
So now, obviously, I have some help.
Yeah.
I have 4 boys that help me. But there was a time when I was doing everything on my own, which was during COVID. I think that was probably the turning point for me as well in terms of work, because I think everyone was so concerned about ordering from
Yeah.
restaurants and things because they weren't sure.
Yeah.
I was doing this from my parents' house at the time. And God, they were so supportive. I turned that house upside down. Like my packaging was all over the place. That kitchen was a mess. But that was incredible for me. I would be up at 5 in the morning every day, mix my dough for the day. And then the orders would start coming in. And it was a mix. So it was basically, like I said, I was taking them personally. But I also was on, I think, Swiggy Genie was a thing at that point. So people could order directly as well. And I would make the cookies as soon as the order came in. There were always electrical issues. I didn't risk taking the lift. My parents on the 4th floor. I would run up and down every time the delivery guy would come to give it to them. It was nuts, and I was exhausted at the end of every day, but it was so fulfilling.
I can imagine.
Genuinely think that was the happiest time in my life.
Yeah.
It was the most tiring, but it was also just, I was so happy with myself. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
you're worth something, you know, like you found your purpose.
Yes,
Oh.
and you wake up with, full of life. So growing up in Bangalore, what were the choices you had if you wanted a cookie? Any bakery in the city that made some tasty ones like VBR or Tom's or Fatima or the, Iyengar bakery?
So I never really thought about cookies when, like before, I went off to uni.
Yeah.
I think at the most, I'd probably have I love those salt biscuits from All Saints and the masala. It was always something savory. But I think for sweet, it was generally usually like corner house, obviously. So that was my go-to. Or also because my mom was such a good cook, she always had, she makes the best ice cream. So, and I'm not saying that because she's my mom. Like anyone who's tried her ice cream is like, why don't you do this as a business?
So you never thought of including it?
So that's hopefully coming up.
Nice.
Yeah, I've been trying to convince her. Do it, but.
What about Ben's cookies? What was the inspiration from their baked goodies?
So Ben's is what I used to have all the time because my campus was on Oxford Street and there was a Ben's cookies on that same street. So I would go there and they had this, oh my God, the milk chocolate orange cookie, thinking about it, I'm like, oh. And I think that's where I got the idea and I realized how size and texture can add so much because they do it great. I feel like, it's just slightly crispy around the edges and it's soft in the center. And they use chunks. They make, that's the whole thing. We use chunks, not chips.
Yeah.
And I was just obsessed. That's why when I had that craving, I was like, that's the only cookie that'll hit the spot right now and nothing else. And that's just how I am as a person. When I have a craving, I need it in that moment. Yeah. And nothing else will help.
So that was your favorite sweet biscuit?
Yeah.
From the world, from anywhere in the world?
No, that was my favorite cookie.
Okay.
But last year, I tried the best thing I've ever tried in my life, which is shortbread from this tiny little town in Scotland. We were there. It's called Pitlochry. There's this little cafe called Kaluna. And at the till, they had these little packets of shortbread. And my husband has this habit of every time he's being like, oh, let me just take this. Let me say, why are you doing this? How are we going to take it back? I put it in my mouth and I was literally like, how is this even possible? It was the lightest, buttery, I don't know, it was light, but at the same time, it just crumbled and it was so buttery. I ate 6 in a row. I was just like, this is so dangerous. And we went back the next day and we bought 12 of those packs and each of them had 10. So I've hand carried 120. So her name, the person who made these, was apparently a friend of the owner of the cafe. And her name was Heather, the girl who made these cookies. So I need to find a way to get it again. I don't know how, but it was worth hand carrying those 120 shortbread back. So good.
So did you eat them all or did you share it with friends?
I shared. Not as much as I wanted to. Initially, I'd got them for a lot more people. And then, of course, as the days went on, between me and my husband, we went through 6 of those bags.
Okay.
So
can we expect some shortbreads too?
I want to try. I don't know how. I don't know if it's the flour that they get there, but I've never tried anything like it. I'm definitely going to do it. It's my next challenge.
So it was not a brand. It was just this
It was just her, this one lady who does it, but she ships it across the UK. Her name's Heather and the town is Pitlochry. So I'm sure Google will help some way, but she's incredible, whoever she is.
Follow up years later, did you get a chance to tell Ben's Cookies how it shaped your baby love and Crumble?
No, I didn't, but my parents do that for me.
Yeah.
Every single time we go, and forget Ben's for sure, but every time we go to any cookie shop or a dessert place, my dad will pull out his phone, open my Instagram page. This is my daughter's maybe. And I'm just
So
standing there like, oh
sweet.
my God, please don't. But secretly, I'm really happy that they're so
Yeah,
proud. It's so
yeah.
sweet of them. And my mom will be like, yeah, and all these celebrities, they have her cookies. Like, no, there's like one. Just relax. But yeah, they do that for me. They go
Yeah.
around proudly telling everyone.
That's a wonderful feeling, huh?
Yeah, it is. It's really nice.
So talking about celebrity, how did Deepika Padukone get to taste your cookies? Did you speak to her about when she found out it's tasty and and she tagged you?
So I didn't actually know the
in
cookies
the
were for
Instagram?
her.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, I think her mom was doing up her vanity van or something like that. So she wanted to take these cookies for. She didn't tell me it was for her. She said, these are for Bombay, so just pack them in a way that they travel well.
Yeah.
So I did my usual packing and I sent it off. And then suddenly at I think 10 or 11 at night, I was in bed and I got a notification that Deepika Padukone's tagged you in a post. And I was like, that can't be right. I think this is some fake person. And then suddenly my phone just blew up. It was just obviously all of her followers texting saying where can we order? And I was like, wait, is this real? So I opened and then I saw her post and she was so sweet. She really didn't have to do that at all. But she even added the little so proud of you, Anutha.
Yeah.
So we went to school. We were in the same school. She was a year above me.
Okay.
But I hadn't met her in years. So, for her to have done that was just beyond kind. I was so grateful. And I did meet her after that, actually. Her parents order quite often, but I did meet her as well at her wedding. And when she introduced me to her husband, and she was like, that's her, she's the cookie queen. And he was like, oh my God, it's you. He's like, look at what they're feeding us. And he pulled out this plate from behind him with those, hotel cookies.
Yeah.
And he's like, can you give us some real cookies, please? And I was like, this is wild. Ranveer and Deepika are talking about my cookies. So it's really nice to have that kind of reaction from people.
I know, it's amazing.
Especially someone like, them.
Yeah.
Her especially. She's so kind.
Lovely.
Such a lovely
But did you
person.
think of her as a brand ambassador for you?
I feel like she already was.
Yeah.
That next week following that post, my back was gone. And I think my mom even told her mom this. She was like, Anutha's never had such a bad back. I was getting people from Alaska asking if I could ship it there. And I was like, sorry, customs won't allow it. But it's nuts. What she did for me, for my business, I'll forever be grateful. It was I would say it's the first turning point in my career so far.
So anyone else you've thought of as a brand ambassador for your cookies? Or would you like to have?
A brand ambassador?
Yeah.
I would love to, but right now I just love everyone who orders them and has them. And I feel like for me, everyone's a brand ambassador. That's how my business has grown.
Yeah.
It's just kind of been word of mouth, right?
Yeah.
Like I said. So I just feel like that's enough. I feel like we've got multiple brand ambassadors, and I'm grateful.
And how did your cookies get to NASA?
Yeah, that's crazy.
How did that happen?
I think it was a friend, someone who knew my mom. Her son was working there at the time, and he'd come to India and tried these cookies, loved them, decided to take back a box for work. And I think he went straight to Houston. So when he went into the office or wherever they work at NASA, he took this box and he had it. And apparently within minutes, the entire thing was gone. And they were like, okay, we need to get more of these. Where can we order them from? And he's like, no, this is from Bangalore in India. And apparently they couldn't get over it. They were just like, what?
Yeah.
Why don't we have this here, sort of a thing. So it was just a cool thing. And it sounds cool, like NASA's
Yeah,
pretty.
absolutely. And is it, are your cookies a little different from Ben's cookies? Because I did try Ben's cookies too. They are different flavors.
Yeah, they are different, but also I think, which I didn't remember this before, but lately I realized I guess they're not as warm.
Yeah.
Because here I make them fresh and send them
Yeah.
out with each order. Over there they keep them
Yeah.
ready. It still tastes really good, but maybe I would say that's the major difference. Because I feel like when it's warm is when you kind of really get the flavors.
Yeah. Did you ever think of adding any Indian ingredients to make it different?
I do. I've really been wanting to do a cardamom one, but I feel like it's such an acquired taste.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, the cardamom idea came to me through those cardamom buns that you get in Sweden.
Yeah.
My God, incredible how big cardamom is there in the sweet, kind of in the pastry world. So I really want to try that here. I don't know. Let's see if it works. I feel like every time I've tried something different over here, there's only a small group of people that would like it, and that would work. The only thing is it takes such a long period of time to make it, and the process is completely different from my other cookies. So unless it's something that everyone would enjoy, it doesn't make sense to kind of, you know, pivot and do something different.
What's the challenge in baking a soft cookie and get the right consistency like you were mentioning earlier?
It's lots of things.
Yeah.
I feel like one, it's your ingredients. It can go right down to the grain size of your sugar. Obviously, the amount of sugar you're putting, the different kinds of sugars that you're using, the flour that you use has to be a certain kind. But the softness and the crispiness, I think the biggest challenge is the oven time. It's how long it's in the oven and at what temperature. And I feel like a lot of the times, especially in India, this has been my biggest challenge, that fluctuations.
Yeah.
Sometimes with electricity, it just goes way off. So you have to keep a constant eye on it. So if something's changed, I look at it and I can tell if it's slightly more brown than need be around the edges. I'm like, throw it out. We're doing another one. Like
Really?
I'm so particular. I can't.
So what's the perfect oven temperature? And is there any special oven that you use for cookies? Or?
No, I just use a regular oven, but 180. 180
Okay.
Celsius is ideal for me.
Okay.
I would say like 12 minutes.
And you mentioned also different kinds of sugar. So
Yeah, so it has to be a combination of brown and white, but it's the grain size that really matters. I've noticed that makes a difference.
Okay.
And the ratio of brown to white as well.
Yeah. And how do you decide on flavor combination, and what's the secret to the perfectly baked cookie? The oven temperature?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's all of it together, right? Like baking is such a science. What they say is true. Like with food, they say it's an art with cooking.
Yeah.
But with baking, it comes down to the last gram. Like it has to be exact. Every single thing has to be exact. And yeah, I would say the perfect cookie would be just like somehow if you orchestrate everything to come together in that ideal manner, then it'll work out. You'll get that perfect cookie.
Yeah, with crisp edges and soft centers.
Yeah.
And is there a reason why your cookies are so big, and that's what makes it very different and special?
I feel like I've tried
the
making them
size
smaller.
matters?
It does not, the texture is not the same. It just tastes like any other regular cookie. When you get it that larger size, it really, I don't know, the way it cooks is just a little more even somehow. And you get that kind of crisp thing all around. And in the center, it's like a little bit more soft and chewy, which is, it's how I want the cookie to be at the end of the day. But some people prefer a crispy cookie or a crunchy cookie. So then it doesn't really matter. You can, play around a little more with the temperature and things.
Any unusual flavor combos that's done really well at your bakery? Anything?
I actually didn't. I don't think it's unusual, but the raspberry white, I did not expect that to become such a big seller. Like people love it. It was supposed to be just for, I think, Christmas or something. I started it, and it was just meant to be a limited edition cookie. But the number of people who wrote in saying, "Can you please bring that back on the menu?" And now it's my top selling one. It's crazy. I did not expect that, but I guess it's maybe the tartness of the raspberry against the sweetness of the white chocolate. Again, it's like that balance of like sea salt with your chocolate. And
so all the white chocolate, raspberry, all sourced from India?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. The chocolate I don't get from India, but the raspberries I do.
Yeah. And what's the story behind your most popular cookie? Is this the one?
At the moment, it's this one. It used to be the dark chocolate sea salt. But I think that's just, a classic of sorts. Like people like a dark chocolate. It's not too sweet.
Yeah.
The sea salt adds a little more balanced flavor to it. But there's no story really. I just make what I like to eat. Like that's my thing. Like I really wanted people to love the milk chocolate orange, which I tried in Ben's.
Yeah.
I loved it, and there was a handful of people who loved it, but then there was the other side who like orange and chocolate. No, not a combination we want to try. So I feel like it's a bit risky, but anything that I feel people are responding well to, and on the whole, then I keep it around.
In your observation, is there a connect between the age of a person and the cookie they choose? How do you cater to this?
No, I don't think so. Not at all, in fact. I see more of a variation within families. So I feel like, say someone orders 4 cookies to their house, every person in that house will have a different favorite, I've noticed.
Really?
So often that happens. So whenever someone says, I want to gift a bunch of cookies to these people, what's your bestseller? I want these. I'm like, you know what, just pick a bunch. Don't pick 4 of the same. Don't pick 3 of the same. Like, do a mix. And they'll always write back the next day saying, oh my God, you were right because this one went for that one went for this. So it's really interesting how in the same family, everyone can have such different preferences.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just comes down to personal preference. I don't think age has that much to do with it.
And does, your cookie add to the warmth of family gatherings or, getting together?
I'd like to think so.
Yeah.
And people have written in saying that, it's like a Christmas Day lunched at home today. And of course, like, we can't imagine it without love and crumble. So I love when I get messages like that.
Yeah.
And these are people who I don't know at all. It's
Yeah.
not, there's no connection there whatsoever.
Yeah.
They don't need to write in and say all these things that they do. But when it comes from a complete stranger, somehow it means more, I feel. I don't know.
And there's a saying, you eat with your eye. What's the inspiration behind your presentation of a cookie?
I mean, it just has to look good enough to want it in that moment,
Yeah. You've added even marshmallows, so how did you think of that?
Because that's a s'mores cookie. So you know how you make your s'mores with the chocolate and the biscuit.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do that, but in cookie form. And I tried it a few different ways before I zeroed in on this, because I tried putting the marshmallows inside and it just wasn't the same. Whereas this kind of, I don't know, when you look at it, it looks kind of, appealing. And then you take a bite and it's like a complete mess all over you, but you don't mind because it's such a good feeling. So that's what I want. I want it to be like an overall sensory experience, and it starts with the eye, I feel.
Yeah. How do you balance the emotional connect of food with running a business?
Oh, I mean, I think for me, it's always going to be emotional because that's how it started. I'm getting better at the business thing. It is hard, especially once you have to go on an aggregator like a Swiggy, and that comes with its own disadvantages, right? Like, especially if you're starting out, you don't have that kind of capital. So when you're giving away that much in commission, it's eating away at your profit. And sometimes almost like for a long time, they'll push you to like advertise and do things like that, as they would, of course. But at what cost? Like, I'm using really expensive ingredients. So for like a good year, I think, I had to kind of say, you know what, I'll do it as an investment into my marketing, but that's it. I'm not going to think about making any money this year. And it worked out in the sense that I noticed, because you get that data, right? Like when someone orders again and again, be like, this customer is ordering for the 4th time in the last month or whatever. Then you're like, okay, fine. So once that year passed, I decided to stop advertising on Swiggy, because I was like, it's just not worth it. You're taking 52%,
wow,
which
that's
is
huge.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And they weren't happy about it, but I was like, I mean, at the end of the day, it is a business, right? I can't just go around giving. At this point, I'm paying people to eat my cookies, sort of a thing. So
too bad
that's
for
one
Swiggy.
of the challenges. I mean, they're still getting 30%, so that's something.
Are there any baking mishaps that turn into unexpected success?
No, unfortunately, all my baking mishaps have ended up in the bin. Yeah. And I'm that way even with my staff. I get so angry with them because I feel like it's so difficult to find staff who are as passionate as you are. I mean, it's not possible, right?
Yeah.
So the closest thing you can get is someone who's at least diligent enough to do it the way, like follow the processes and do it. But sometimes they will slip up and I get so angry in that moment and I'm just like, throw it all. Like, this is not the way you do it. And I think after many, many of these mishaps, they finally got it now. So.
And it's so hard to retain them also, right?
Oh my God. It's just been the worst. I don't know why it's so hard.
Is there, I mean, what's the best compliment you've got for your cookies? I know you've mentioned that a lot of things that, people message you, but is there anything in particular that you can't?
I mean, so there are obviously many that come in. But I think the one that stands out and I always remember is when this lady called from Ben's Cookies on Oxford Street. And she said, I just want to let you know that my sons wanted to come and try the cookie lady's favorite cookie place. And they had one bite and they were like, this is not like Love and Crumble. And she's like, I have to call you right now to tell you that. And I was just like, that has got to be the ultimate compliment, and I will never forget it. Considering that was a spot that, started this entire thing for me. So that was, I mean, that's just...
Way to go.
Yeah.
So, Anutha, what's the latest in cookie technology?
Cookie technology, I don't know. But a friend of mine actually works for this a company in San Francisco where they use AI to, I can't remember the name of the company, but what they do is they buy recipes from chefs, bakers, anywhere from all over the world. It can be, like your Gordon Ramsay, like the most famous guys.
Yeah.
And then everything is obviously measured right down to the milligram, like the amount of salt you put in and everything. And it's all automated. It's all done by this machine. And you pay for the recipe, and then once you put it out there, I think the idea is to have a presence all over the world. I think they have an office in Bombay over here. But I mean, it's a little bit scary, but at the same time, they say that you also will get royalties from that. So every time someone does order that cookie, because it's your recipe, you'll get
A commission.
a commission out of it. But I don't know how I feel about that just yet. It's like taking out that human element.
Absolutely. Yeah, it doesn't excite.
I don't know. Something's not.
Doesn't sound exciting.
But it's scary because I feel like it's all happening whether we want it to or not.
Yeah. Any interesting behind the scene bakery secret to your cookie recipe?
I mean, I've always got dough all over me and flour and everything. Like, it's a joke every time someone sees me there. They're just like, oh, why don't you ever post pictures of you baking? Like, like a Nigella or something. I was like, because I don't look anything like that. I'm a complete mess. People will be like, what is wrong with this lunatic? So it's that, like, from probably that.
I hope you have pictures of that because we would like to.
Oh, God, no. Maybe someday I'll allow it. We do have CCTV cameras in there, so I'm sure there'll be a lot of footage.
And how do you bake in the heat of summer?
I don't find it that difficult, actually. I feel like Bangalore's not so bad. And my kitchen is actually on a basement level, so it's a lot cooler for some reason. So I don't feel the heat as much. I did initially when I was just my parents' kitchen, and then when I had another place which was just even smaller, and it was on the 7th floor. But I put in an AC and everything for my staff as well. But this one's, now it's fine. I've kind of sorted that out. It's not too bad.
Okay. And do you customize if there's a special request, maybe a particular flavor or add extra nuts or something?
I can if it's for a batch of cookies, but if it's just like one cookie and they like do this, then it becomes difficult because the whole process will get slow. And when these orders come in, especially from Swiggy, it's like every 10 minutes or so. So you can't like customize in the middle of that because then someone else's order will get delayed sort of a thing. So it's hard to do that unless it's for like one like bulk order if someone's ordering for like a party at home or a baby shower or something.
How do you keep track of your orders in delivery system? Is there a...
It's all online now, so it's easy. Even my Swiggy, my air menus, everything, there's a back-end system that has all the information, all the inventory, everything's on there. So it's very easy to keep it. And I have my cameras in place and stuff. So, and I go in a lot of the time. So I'm always there. I always know what's happening. I'm quite particular that way.
What's your ideal sale of cookies in a day? Is there a target that you set?
I mean, as long as I'm up, I think I'm okay. But it's generally good. I would say maybe like a 1 lakh day would be good.
Yeah?
Yeah, that would be good.
But every day?
Not every day.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's also so much. Like someone who has a cookie today is not going to want a cookie tomorrow or maybe even for the next week. And there's always your cakes that you can get from wherever else. Magnolia, you've got Corner House, you've got a bunch of things, all these waffle places. I don't want the same thing 2 days in a row. I don't even remember the last time I had one of my cookies because I'm constantly around it, so I don't feel like eating it. So it's hard to do it every day, but obviously festive seasons are much better. Like Diwali and Christmas are great. Weekends, of course, are great. But sometimes the week can be a bit of a dip, so that's when I'll be like, okay, I need to like work on some marketing strategies or sales. But then come weekend, I'm like, it's fine.
Yeah. And also holiday season, right? So it'll be dull. Have you collaborated with other brands or chefs? And if so, has there been an impact on your brand?
I haven't collaborated with anyone actually. Like,
planning to?
Not unless it's someone really special.
Like?
I love Christina Tosi from the Milk Bar.
Okay.
I just think she's so cool and what she's done with her brand. And, she uses nostalgia as her driving force to create things today, like her cereal milk ice cream, or she makes this thing called the crack pie. And she called it the crack pie because apparently someone took a bite once and they were like, this is like crack. So, and she uses just like, she doesn't try to do anything new or fancy. She just uses old school flavors but packages it in a way that is appealing today.
Uh-huh.
And I'd just be so interested to see what she could do with my cookies.
Yeah.
I think we'll be best friends. So
If you could bake cookies for any celebrity or historical figure, who would that be and why?
I don't know. Right now, I'm very into sports people. I just think they're so such interesting people. I'm currently rewatching the documentary on Tiger Woods because I've started playing golf. Me and my husband have started that on the side.
Right.
And it's just incredible what they do. So to have any sports person be like, you know what, we're so careful about our diets.
Yeah,
but
exactly. I was thinking of that.
It's cheat day and only a love and crumble cookie would, do it for us. I think that would be the ultimate goal for me.
So do you watch cricket also? Or
Not much, a little bit, not much. I used to back when IPL first started and then I sort of lost my interest.
Okay. What about gluten-free cookies? Do you also experiment with other healthier options?
I did gluten-free cookies at one point of time, and there were a lot of people that did order, but again, nothing compared to the larger markets. So it just, considering it was taking up so much of my time from making the regular stuff that did sell, I had to kind of stop. I mean, maybe down the line, if this is set up, I can start a separate company with a different group of people running it, like different staff and everything, then it could work. Yeah. But otherwise, it doesn't work in the same...
And even savory cookies, no?
No, it just hasn't... I feel like when people think love and crumble, they just think indulgence. They think, you know what, we want to go ham today. We don't care about the calories. So that's what it is.
Yeah. And is there any favorite in your menu?
For me?
Yeah.
It keeps changing actually, but it's usually milk chocolate chunk.
Yeah.
I just love milk chocolate. I don't know why. I've always wanted to be those people who says, I love dark chocolate, but I don't want. I love the really sweet stuff.
And what's a brookie and how is it different from a cookie? And making also, how is it different?
So brookie is basically a brownie in cookie form.
Okay.
So it's the texture of a brownie. It's a lot more chocolate. Obviously, there's cocoa powder in the batter as well. It's a batter. It's not so much a dough. There's actual chocolate in the dough as well. So it's technically a triple chocolate cookie because you've got like cocoa, you've got the cooking chocolate, and you've got the chocolate that I mix in with it. And sometimes when you add the Dutch milk chocolate and the dark chocolate, that's a fourth layer. So it's like that's your ultimate chocolate cookie, I would think.
So you source your chocolates from Netherlands? That's why you call
it? From different places. I've got a lot of my cookies use different chocolates, but I mean there are people here who source them for me. It's not like I have to.
Yeah. And what do homemade cookies have that the normal bakery cookies don't have? And how is it different?
I would think it's the ingredients that I used.
And also in small batches, would you say?
Small batches for sure.
Yeah.
Even my oven, I can only make 12 cookies at a time, but I like it that way.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the minute you do that multiple batches thing, it just doesn't work. And you need you need to use your hands. Everything needs to be felt, like the texture. Every morning when I go, the texture has, I can only tell by hand. If it's slightly off, it doesn't work. And you can't even correct it because it's dough. It's not like, you can't add a little more water or a little more. You just can't. So it has to be perfect.
And is there something like a bad cookie?
I don't know. I feel like everyone has different preferences. So I can't really say a bad cookie. For example, my husband does not like my cookies
Really?
served warm.
Okay.
He'd be like, I was like, okay, I got you. He loves the dark chocolate chips. Like, okay, here, you haven't had this in a while. And he'd be like, yeah, sure, just pop it in the freezer. And I'm just like, what are you doing? That's blasphemous. And he's like, no, but this is how I like it. So I feel like everyone's got a different preference. So I don't know. Something that I might not like, someone else would like. And something that I like, they might be like, this doesn't go together at all. So
yeah. So asking this again, what's a good consistency for dough and how long do you rest it? Any particular raising agents that you would recommend?
No, I mean, I use baking soda. I feel like it's worked the best for me. I like it to be soft, but not too wet because then what happens is when you put it in the oven, it kind of melts down and you get like a flat mess. Yeah. So just kind of that in between, like I said, I have to feel it with my fingers. It's slightly sticky, but not dry.
And how long do you rest it before you?
Maybe like a couple of hours. Okay. That's it, not much. Because it's made so often, so... Yeah. There's not enough time to rest it for that long.
Any preferred type of chocolate you use for cookies?
Couverture, but like I use it's more the brand. I think I get them from different places, and I feel like that's what's kind of kept it.
Stands out.
Yeah.
Yeah. How often do you experiment with flavors?
Not as often as I should.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I used to do it a lot more often earlier, but then I realized like I would be excited about it, but I wouldn't get the response I
Yeah.
wanted.
Yeah.
So that kind of, made me realize that, okay, maybe, even Ben's hasn't changed their flavors in like years and years and years. So I was like, okay, maybe not everything has to be fixed or
Changeable.
changed or,
Yeah.
have your few things. But every now and
Yeah.
then if I do think of something, I'll bring it up. And if I feel like enough people have asked for it, I'll be like, okay, I'll bring it back.
How is baking cookies different from cakes?
Cakes are so hard. I don't know
Yeah.
how people bake cakes. It is the most frustrating thing for me because I've tried and failed. And then you just feel, I hate wastage. There's nothing that bothers me more than something going to waste.
Yeah.
And I just feel like it's happened every time I've tried to bake a cake. I feel like cookies are so much easier somehow because it's just, as long as you put everything in order. Maybe also because I've done it for so long now, so it's
Yeah.
like second nature to me.
Yeah.
But it's just, there's no way of going wrong,
Mhm.
whereas with the cakes, like you expect it to be a certain way. You look at this in a book and you're like, okay, why does mine not look like that? Like I tried to make Christina Tosi's cake one time and it said there like prep time 2 hours. 8 hours it took me. 8 hours. And at the end of it, it looked nothing like hers. It was just like, you know what, Anutha, just, you have one skill, stick to it. Just don't even try.
Nigella Lawson, Deb Perelman, any bakers who's inspired you? Any books on baking that you can recommend?
I actually just bought a bunch of them, but I've never looked at books. For me, it's I was gifted a few books. I think Martha Stewart had like a book on cookies that was gifted to me, and a few others. But I don't know. I feel like when people release these books, they leave out something.
Yeah.
Because it's how else won't it turn out the exact same way? I'm just like, you guys are gatekeeping some secret, so I don't really believe you.
I agree.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, who are you trying to fool?
Any sort of baker that you look up to? Or someone?
Christina Tosi, for sure.
Okay. What are 4 essential implements to bake cookies? And any brands, besides Ben, that you recommend?
I tried a few. Insomnia cookies in the US is really good.
Mm-hmm.
I tried Last Crumb, which is actually the new big thing in LA. They've got a really interesting way of doing it. They have a drop every Monday, and you only have that much time to book your cookies, and it gets delivered the rest of the week. And it's like $20 for a cookie or something. It's ridiculously expensive. So I had such great expectations for that one. And my cousin at her wedding ordered these cookies, but it was nothing compared.
Like
Crumble. nothing like Ben's, I would say either. Like I was like, Ben's is so much better, But it's just so well marketed. So that's the other thing, right? If you have a really good marketing team, and if you can get it out to all the celebrities, and if you can get them to kind of like get excited about it. But it was just like, this is not worth $20.
Yeah.
So.
Is there a message behind your cookies? Something that you want to say or convey?
I just want to spread the joy. I love when someone who hasn't tried my cookie tries it for the first time.
Yeah.
And I mean, if I could have like a secret camera in all of my packaging that could kind of
capture the moment.
That moment, that would be ideal for me. Because it's just such a like, oh my God, like I can't believe I did that. It's so cool. It just, it doesn't feel real. But
yeah, no, I have also gifted my friends from other cities and they have absolutely fallen in love. And
I love
we've
that.
never seen this guy anywhere from. Do you have plans to expand to into other types of desserts or, experiences?
Ice cream.
Yeah.
That is, I've been saying this for a while, but I feel like Love and Crumble still wasn't in a place where it could manage without me, like where I didn't have to be there 24/7. But now I've sort of figured that out. So this is the year of ice cream. And I'm really excited because I've tried some out. It's very different. It's creamy and it's not as sweet as you would think. So and I think it's a nice combination. Like cookies and ice cream just work, right? So hopefully it works out well. Let's see.
So you're going to launch it soon in this year?
Yeah. Okay. I've bought my freezer and everything. Very excited. I think it's my most exciting purchase of late, my freezer.
I'm sure it's going to be successful. All the best.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
What's the ultimate dream you want to achieve with this brand?
I want anyone who craves a Love and Crumble, because right now I have people who order from all over India, and some of them live outside as well, and they only get it when they're traveling or someone's visiting them. So I think the ultimate dream would be for anyone anywhere in the world to be like, you know what, I feel like a love and crumble cookie, and
Yeah.
I mean, it's far-fetched dream, but somewhere close. But for now, I just want to have a presence in Bombay. I think that's my other goal for this year,
Okay.
because I have a lot of people who order from there, and I feel like it's a good market to be in.
I agree. I think it'll be good to experiment in Bombay because
Yeah,
food is big there.
huge.
Yeah.
And they've got, I mean, they have the best food, I feel, in the
Yeah,
country, like some of the
yeah,
best restaurants
yeah.
and things. I actually did a pop-up there last year,
Mhm.
and I was really nervous because I was like, you know what?
How many minutes was it sold out in?
Right? I was shocked. I didn't expect that, because for me, you know, I was like, it's Bombay. They're used to really
Yeah.
high quality
Yeah.
stuff, you know, like my balloon's going to be burst as soon as I go there.
Mhm.
But I did this pop-up, and every single person who came and bought cookies came back just to tell me that it was incredible, or they texted saying, can you please open in Bombay? We have nothing like this. And these are people I don't know at all.
Yeah.
So the fact that that happened gave me the confidence to kind of have some sort of space over there, a presence.
Any word of advice for someone who's going to start a business on their own?
I think first, know what exactly your plan is, like your vision, and let it be very clear, because and hold on to that, because along the way you will meet so many people who'll be like, you know what, if you did this you could scale faster, but if you stay true to what your vision was from the start, nothing can stop you. And like, I mean, at least for me, I feel like that I still have a long way to go, of course. I still feel like I'm in the middle, or I'm just taking off, like taking the next step. But I feel like if you can hold your ground and say, no, you know what, this is what I want to do, and I don't want to compromise on quality. I always want to evoke this feeling in my customers, then nothing can stop you. If you have a good product and you stick by it, I think it's fine.
When you got your first earnings from the cookies, what did you do with that?
God, that's such a good question. I probably just shopped. No, I mean, nothing exciting. Bought stuff for a bunch of people. I love giving gifts. I think I have many love languages. One of them is just gift giving.
Yeah.
So I just maybe like bought something for my family.
And I'm also interested because you speak a lot about your travels and, you know, like the shortbread experience. And so anything else that comes to your mind in your travel and any experiences that you've had with food, not just cookies or not just...
With food, I love Mexican food.
Okay.
I think that is my next dream location trip.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing I loved when I was in university. There was this place called Tortilla. It's like a tiny Mexican place, kind of like a Subway, but nicer. And my dream was to bring that to India. I was like, at that point, there was no Mexican food in India. None of these places were around then. And I was like, Indians would love Mexican flavors. Like the spice, everything is spot on. And man, if I could bring that here, it would do so well. Even today, it's like tortilla. I miss it so much.
Thank you so much, Anutha.
Thank
Thanks a
you.
lot for coming. And I think I really, really enjoyed this conversation.
Me too.
And learned
I was
so much.
so nervous, but thank you for making it so comfortable.
Not at all. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you so
for super
much.
successful and best years ahead.
Thank you so much.